Yo, fellas, anyone still alive out there? Drop a like so I know I'm not just talking to myself. It gets lonely, you know? Today, we're going to talk about a few psychological diseases I see everyone has, but not everyone knows they have. Let's get into it. Have you ever noticed in places with a no dumping sign, the trash just piles up? Or a no urinating sign, the smell there is 1,000 times worse than anywhere else? That's a common reaction for us humans. People feel uncomfortable and rebel when they feel their freedom of choice is being taken away. This leads to them doing the exact opposite to reassert their own autonomy. It's similar to the other day a friend asked me she has a mom who always demands she do chores and she doesn't want to anymore. Is there a way to convince someone to do what you want? Yeah, there is. It's simple as let them convince themselves. How? Instead of saying you have to do the dishes, ask, do you want to do the dishes or sweep the front porch? In other words, give people a choice, respect their autonomy. I call this the help me answer theory. Now, let's level up the game. Besides giving people a choice, you can also use another trick, the anchoring effect. You want to borrow $200 from a buddy, asking directly, start with, dude, can you lend me $500? Most people will feel like 500 is too much and say no. And that's when you hit them with your real asks. So, how about 200? Said $100 will seem reasonable and a lot smaller. That is the art of manipulation. We all have that competitive streak, that instinct to be praised, to be recognized by those around us, to show people we're at least on their level. Or even better, everyone wants to be the smartest guy in the room or on the team. Sometimes we unconsciously make this mistake. Whenever someone offers advice or presents an idea we've already heard, our first reaction is usually, I know, been there, done that. The problem here isn't that you're showing off your knowledge, it's that you're insulting the other person. What you're trying to say, or at least what they feel, is you've just wasted my time. In this case, it's best to shut your mouth and learn to listen. It's like you're managing a warehouse. An employee reports that packing is done and asks for your opinion on how to organize the stock. Just before that, you check the cameras and already had a plan. Most of us will try to let the employee know we're one step ahead, from a simple I know to something more of a slap in the face. Why are you bothering me with something this trivial? No matter which option you choose, hurting the other person is unavoidable. What we're implying to the employee is that they're wasting our time. This morning I went to buy an ink bottle to stamp products. Normally it's just $1, maybe $2 at most. But today, the owner was absent. The employee filling in told me the price was $10. I said it was a scam, but she just said the kind I usually use is shit, and hers is better. I called her out by her first name, told her she should know better, since her aunt owns the place, but she had no idea I'm friends with her aunt. $10 isn't a lot, really. But it's the price to activate the greed inside every single one of us, and we all have greed. Every single one of us. So, tell me, my hungry little flowers, how big is your greed? I don't know about yours, but I know how big mine is. I'm greedy for good food, greedy for a good time, greedy for hot chicks, greedy for money, greedy for power. If you let your greed rise up and then look back and feel ashamed of yourself, then you'll know your greed is still in check. Because knowing shame means there's still a chance to be saved. A while back, when I was broke as my neighbor's chicken wandered over. A crooked smile appeared on my face, and that chicken became collateral for a few minutes of ecstatic hunger. In the afternoon, the neighbor came over and asked, "Hey, did you see my chicken run this way?" I lied and said no. Those few bites of chicken really didn't taste good. I tossed and turned all night and finally decided to confess. Because the guilt was eating me up. The neighbor laughed and said it was fine, consider it a gift from God, but told me to come help him feed the chickens for a day to make up for it. That feeling was so good, like being released from a psychological burden. Everyone has a need for validation. From a young age, we've been hardwired to think that being recognized by others is extremely important. Has any of us never heard questions like, did you behave today? Did you get an A on the test? Did you win any awards at the sports meet? Unconsciously, we've been programmed to think that we have to show the best, the highest achievements to deserve love and recognition. But life isn't always about A's. There will be times we fail, make mistakes, or simply don't live up to others' expectations. And when that happens, what's the result? A lot of people grow up with a fear of being themselves. If they don't meet everyone's expectations, they'll feel like a failure, a defective product. They start living a fake life, wearing different masks to please others. Just think about it. Have you ever been through this? Have you ever bought something expensive just to show off on Instagram? Have you ever done a good deed just so others would see and praise you? Those actions aren't bad, but their root is a lack of self-confidence and a craving for external validation. It's a trap, because if you keep chasing validation from others, you'll never find true peace. Back in the day in high school, did your school have those boring poster board projects? Anyway, that shit's not important. This story is better. So one time, my school launched this alumni day thing, and each class had to make a poster to display in the hall. My best friend, let's call him Kevin, was the type who had 2 left feet when it came to art, but he got stuck with making the poster. As a ride or die friend, I decided to roll up my sleeves and help him out. After chugging an iced chai from Starbucks, we got to work. The problem started right here. After I put my heart and soul into the poster, I turned to Kevin with a huge grin, asking something like, "Hey, this is fire, right?" And my buddy replied, with a blank face, no expression, his voice flat, "It's okay." And I just froze there, wondering if he really saw the masterpiece I just created, not a single hint of excitement on his face. So I said it straight up, "Dude, I feel like you're not happy with this. If you don't say it straight, how am I supposed to know if it's okay?" You gotta agree with me. When you put effort into something, everyone wants to get some recognition back, at least some honest feedback, right? Even if it's not perfect, there should be some decent feedback. But later, I found out he didn't say it directly because he was afraid of hurting my feelings. He was afraid of causing drama, afraid of damaging our friendship. But this is the kicker, because he didn't say anything. I felt like he didn't respect my effort. Bad communication will definitely hurt people's feelings. So how do we improve this skill? Today I'm going to teach you a few tricks. First, try to avoid using negative sounding words. Instead of saying, "You're terrible at your job," if you can't do it, just ask. Say, "I see that your work is not up to standard. If you're having trouble, please let me know. Don't be shy." The second way of speaking shows you're being direct, but without hurting or devaluing the person you're talking to. Next, avoid using negative words in conversation. Instead of saying, "Do you like your current job?" "No, I don't find this job interesting." Say, "Do you like your current job?" "I haven't felt a lot of passion for this job yet." And this is the most important thing. Learn to lower your tone. Which sentence would you rather hear? "Hand over the documents to the office." Loud. "Could you hand over the documents to the office, please?" A gentle, calm voice will show respect and make the other person feel comfortable. There's a word I absolutely love, and I also love it when others use it with me. A simple, gentle word, but unfortunately, it's becoming rare in everyday conversation, just like a decent woman these days. That word is yes. In my opinion, yes is the foundation of a kind and valuable person. The great thing about it is that it doesn't make the speaker seem small or the listener arrogant. Besides that, there's another word I love even more than yes. I bet not many of you will guess it. A lot of people equate it with the language of an uneducated asshole, a total barbarian. But to me, barbarism can also be a form of culture. If used at the right time, it carries an incredibly powerful, shocking energy. If yes is like a 20-year-old muse's gentle hands caressing your cheek, then is like a heavyweight champ's punch in his prime. It has the power to shatter vague ideas and knock down the most delusional schemes of little punks. I will teach my daughter both of these words. Of course, when she's old enough to know right from wrong, the word yes. So she knows to respect her elders and everyone else, and the word for those who bother her life. You can do 1,001 good things in this world, and people will acknowledge it, but that acknowledgement never really sticks. Whether it's intentional or not, our subconscious has an instinct, or to put it in a more street-smart way, it's that we hold grudges like a mother. For example, a person spends their whole life doing good, but at the end of their life, they make one mistake, and people say they're showing their true colors. This world is more grudge-holding and chaotic than you'd think. It's like Britney Spears dedicating her life to music, being an idol to so many people. But just because of a few impulsive moments and a chaotic personal life, the whole world turned on her and started nitpicking. How many people remember her contributions or just remember those times she shaved her head and lost control? This life is a lot more complex than you think. If you can't do anything good for the world, at least don't do anything bad. I'm pretty sure all of us, at least once, have walked into a classroom late, and in old school American schools, the layout is usually the same. The entrance is right in front of the teacher's desk, and all eyes turn to you. How do you feel at that moment? I'd bet you feel like everyone is staring at you, like a movie star who wandered into the wrong neighborhood. The feeling that the whole world is judging you, even for a small mistake. I'm no expert on being late, but I understand that feeling. It comes from something called the spotlight effect. But what's the truth? Just try asking any friend in that class if they remember who was late that day. It's very rare that they'll remember, unless they were directly affected. The human brain doesn't have enough capacity to store such unimportant details, especially when they aren't directly related to their own lives. Any of you guys who watch movies or read books have probably heard this line a few times: if you don't look out for number one, no one else will. A lot of people mistakenly believe this means if you don't live for your own personal benefit, you won't survive. But is that the truth? Unfortunately, you got it all wrong. This saying has a much deeper philosophical origin than people usually think. It's not about being selfish, but about each individual's responsibility to cultivate themselves and live a meaningful life. It can be understood through the philosophy of Stoicism. A person who doesn't cultivate their morality, doesn't understand themselves, will never be able to have a peaceful and meaningful life. In the end, they will self-destruct. To truly live for yourself in the right way, you need to have certain principles. That's integrity, empathy, generosity, and personal growth. These are the things that are the real way to live for yourself. A few days ago, social media was shaking because of the ungrateful scandal of two TikTokers when they left their famous manager's company. The public criticized them fiercely, saying they bit the hand that feeds you, forgetting the manager's company that helped them. And when they were fully fledged, they left and said, "You guys didn't help me at all." But what's the issue here? Have we truly listened with both ears? In any story, everyone is the good guy and the victim in their own version. So I'll stand in the middle to get a clear view. Imagine this story like a normal office job. You go to work, create value and profit for the company. Then, for many reasons, you decide to quit. And then your boss starts to complain, telling tales about how they helped you from the beginning. But be sober and think. All your boss did was provide the conditions for you to bring in the most profit for the company. It's a mutually beneficial relationship. Don't forget, if you don't perform, you'll get your pay docked, have to work overtime, or even get fired. At that moment, would anyone call that ingratitude? People say money, family, network, and put network last. Sounds off, but I'll tell you, it's scarily accurate. In this world, if you weren't born into a millionaire's family, don't have a huge fortune, then the only thing you can rely on is your network. So how do you get a quality network? Hello, my little success-hungry foxes. To have a top-tier network, you have to become a quality game changer. A mentor once told me, what you learn isn't as important as making an effort to get into rooms with smart people. Once you're there, you'll have the chance to connect with them. I have an older sister who's now the CEO of a major corporation. She apprenticed with a great mentor for 15 years. Her motto was, work hard, play hard. During the day, she slaved away nonstop, learning bit by bit. When she had enough experience and potential, she branched out to start her own company. To achieve the success she has today, she received a lot of support from her old boss. In short, opportunities come to everyone. But to actively find them, you need to build a quality network. And to do that, you have to become a person of value yourself. That's all I got for you. If you listen to any of that, don't just sit there. Throw me a like, drop a comment, let me know someone's still watching, because if there's no engagement, I'm going to get pissed and won't make another one. Catch you later, fellas.